Welcome back. Love Boat Project, episode 26.
Yep.
Ahoy, Mike.
Ahoy, hoy. Season 2. Or as I like to remember it by the Ghostbusters 2, which is when they had the Ghostbusters guy, but then they had like a 2.
You know, it's funny you say Ghostbusters 2. We were just talking about that the other day, and you had the Ray Parker Jr. song from the first one. Obviously, right. Who You Gonna Call?
Right.
But then part 2 had that Bobby Brown song, Under Control.
Yep. Which is a really good song.
That's a really good song. So the talk was, what's a better song?
I think as far as a better song, like held up, the Bobby Brown song. Like the Ghostbusters song is a movie theme song, right?
You hear it once a year.
Right. Now, the thing I will say about Ghostbusters 2 is it also has one of my favorite old songs.
What's that?
As a plot point, which is the Jackie Wilson Higher and Higher.
Oh, I like that.
That's like what gets the Statue of Liberty moving. So
I like that.
I would do a Ghostbusters 2 podcast just because I want to constantly be like Vigo.
Just only on part 2. The only on part 2, and then the reboot. That's it.
Oh, I haven't seen any of those.
I can't, man. I can't. I know there's one coming out, and I'm almost gun shy. It's like I gotta leave. There's no
those
ego.
2 movies are perfect. I don't need to see anymore.
I don't need to see anything else.
No. But that's not what we're here to talk about.
It's not what we're here to talk about. Welcome back. I am your host, Mike Taylor. Along with me is my co-host, Mike Robertson. Ahoy.
Ahoy.
And we're here to talk about the season 2, episode 1, season premiere of The Love Boat. Original air date, September 16th, 1978. Good news, Mike. Ben Jolson and Art Barr are back.
I know, but here's the thing, right? So I saw that they were in there.
I know what you're going to say. Yeah.
It's not the one I expected him to write.
It's not the one they should have written.
So there are 3 storylines in this thing. One was written by Mike Norrell, who we gave flowers to for the amazing. Oh no, we're not remembering season 1 stuff already. With O'Rourke, where it was the whole episode was musical cabins.
Mm-hmm.
He wrote that whole episode, and he ended up writing the marooned part of this thing. I just assumed that our favorites wrote The Search because it had crazy gotchas, which is one of their staples.
That is true. We do like a good gotcha. Yeah, the eyes. Well, it's funny because it was out of all of the. I don't. There not a lot of twists and turns in the Isaac's Holiday storyline, and it was kind of a. It wasn't a Jolson Barr like.
No, but
story.
I will say, I do think it's I think at the end, I think they wanted to get Isaac promoted and give him, and maybe that was a reaction. Remember how we had talked about the end of season 1? We were like, are we going to see reactions to the full season in season 2?
Right.
That felt like, you know what? And we talked about it. Like Isaac either had these really full Isaac episodes or he'd be there for like 4 seconds. And so him getting promoted at the end, spoiler, into things outside, I forget how Stubing worded it, but like things outside of bartending, basically. They clearly are going to like use him in other things, which will be an excuse to get him in other things.
And have rank.
Right.
But it also establishes that he's above Gopher. Which I think is. Well, I think Gopher.
I don't know how that works. It said he'll have stripes in his next paycheck.
You know what it is? I think that you can feel the captain's general disdain for Gopher, so I just automatically assume he wanted to get.
Why? Because he tried to have him killed during this episode.
He didn't lift the tree off of him, did he? Mm-mm.
Here's what I know. Here's what I know about weather. No, I'm not going out in a hurricane to see if the roof is okay. Guess what? It's probably not.
You can probably see it from the inside too, right? Yes. You can take a good look at it.
Also, we're not on the boat, Merrill.
No.
You know who wouldn't like this? Is Eve Plum. She would have been like, man, you are not a person.
I'll be out here in the rain. Don't worry about me.
Now you're dead from a massive head trauma.
Just so... Yeah, there's a lot to kind of dive into there.
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, three storylines this week. First story called Marooned.
Which, by the way,
yeah,
I'm the speckled in maroon.
Oh, I
That's
didn't
the
see that.
costume.
Oh,
Besides the hat,
nice.
it's a two-parter. So
That is
we
good.
Captain
That
Hat.
is good.
Well,
Marooned.
I was like, there's got to be costumes in this marooned episode, but except
Right.
for the way John Aston dressed, there really wasn't any costume opportunities. So
Unless I came with a white T-shirt with a marinara stain on it. Just walk in like that, and I'm worried about it the entire episode.
right. Oh, that was wild.
And Isaac's holiday. We talked about Ben Jolson. Let's talk about what else was on. This is interesting to me.
So is this, I don't know if you know from this, but is this, so do we think this is like season premiere week? We should be getting new stuff, right? Okay.
Mm-hmm. New stuff. And they're doing that same thing they did last year on CBS. Now, keep in mind, this was on from 8 to 10. So you're kind of might be chopping into a few things, right?
Yeah.
From 8 to 9 on CBS was the season premiere of Good Times. An hour-long episode. So they're doing this again.
Okay.
Called Florida's Homecoming.
So she's not passed away yet.
And I kind of make a rule that I will take the synopsis of a TV movie. But since this is not the Good Times Project, let somebody else take those notes.
Because here's the thing I know. I think if at some point Florida Evans passes away, maybe, or I don't know. Or maybe that's the husband. That's John Amos. Right.
I don't know. I know he left the show, but I don't know where she went.
He definitely dies, because one of the few clips I remember from Good Times is when she gets the phone call or something, and she's like, "Damn, damn, damn." But that's for Good Times Project.
That's for the Good Times Project to discuss.
He's got me on Good Times Project. Whoever's hosting that.
Yeah. # Good Times Project. From 8 to 9 on NBC is the season premiere and another hour-long episode of Chips. They have moved Chips. We're going up against the boat as well. And it's so funny. This is so random. I remember this episode. The episode name is Peaks and Valleys. This is the episode where John Baker helps a motorist, and the motorist ends up suing the California Highway Patrol because he helped her. And it's a whole episode how, like, they're not allowed to do their jobs, man. It was a whole, I just clearly remember it. And I was like, this is the dumbest. I had the action figures. I'm like, I didn't want to see a legal drama. Like, what are we doing with motorcycles this week?
Nothing like action figures, but your court procedural.
Just dialogue heavy. What
a weird season premiere episode to have.
Terrible.
Shout out to our friend Dan, former guest of the show, Dan, who tipped us off that there was a Chips spinoff attempt, backdoor pilot, with a like a special task force. So
I like the idea.
We may need to dive into some. Maybe during hiatus one year, we'll dive into some of these offshoot shows, because I got a movie later that we'll need to dive into as well. But we'll get to that.
Is it You're Baking Me Crazy?
Not the TV movie.
No. All right. Well, I do have a movie to talk about. Speaking of movies here, let's go back to CBS. And that's 8 to 9. And again, what I sort of said last year, it's like they were throwing things at the Love Boat now. Right. Just to see these hour-long episodes. Remember the Jeffersons did it with that clip show when they were tied together.
90-minute clip show.
Right.
And I guess I guess the 8 to 10 too, like Love Boat obviously won't be on at 8, I would assume. I think it slides into 9.
Yeah, because in Fantasy Island's on at 10.
Right. So these are people taking their shots at a Love Boat. Yeah.
Well, I wonder, it's funny because if you see these, right, they're doubling their episodes from 30 to, well, no.
Chips is usually an hour.
Chips is an hour. Chips is an hour. I'm sorry, but Good Times.
I mean, especially when you have that dynamic litigation storyline.
I'm surprised they didn't stretch that out. It's a 17-minute episode this week. Dialogue heavy. No motorcycles.
Sorry, they're just walking past the parked motorcycles.
Just awful. There is a movie on CBS from 9 to 11. Movie's called The Islander. Oof. Let me tell you about this movie, Mike. This is Dennis Weaver,
The Weaves.
Sharon Gless,
Wow.
Bernadette Peters.
That's quite a cast.
A retired lawyer buys a small hotel in Honolulu, only to get caught up in a murderous situation involving a runaway grand jury witness, a reckless mobster, and a racket-busting U.S. senator.
Wow.
Right? I bet you the runaway grand jury witness is Bernadette Peters. And I bet you Gless is the racket-busting U.S. senator.
Yeah,
and Weaver's got to be the reckless mobster.
Yeah, that's got to be it. Bernadette Peters is no senator.
She's no reckless mobster either.
No.
It just wouldn't work.
Wow.
So that's interesting.
That is quite a cast.
TV movie. Let me just be clear. That is a TV movie.
That's even more wild that the Weaves would be in a TV movie. And Bernadette Peters in a TV movie seems
Sharon Gless.
Right?
Sharon Gless. Come on. And it's a CBS. This is when Cagney and Lacey. Well, no. This is pre-Cagney and Lacey.
Pre-Cagney and Lacey, because we have danced around Sharon Gless a few times, right?
Yeah, she's got to be on the boat. She's got to be on the boat. Wasn't Loretta Swit supposed to be Cagney or Lacey? That's
but
right.
She got stuck on MASH.
Mm-hmm.
And I think there was like another thing. Maybe Sharon Gless was in one of these things, or was so
it was something like there was some link.
So I do wonder, because you would think she would be on the boat.
I would definitely think.
I don't know. I guess I have this idea of Sharon Gless that she's like,
she's not going to be making out with dudes by the pool,
right? She would almost have to be one of those like sister characters. It would be
a nun. She could be a nun. I don't know, like a gun-toting nun. Maybe not the guns.
Gun-toting?
Just to like eliminate the possibility of a romantic angle.
I think the season 2 goal should be we should find a role each episode that Sharon Gless.
All right.
So this first episode
it could be.
I have no idea.
What about Mrs. Simpson? Oh no, but she's too young to play Mrs. Simpson. Sharon Gless now could play Mrs. Simpson.
Yeah, I don't know who Sharon. There's no real Sharon Gless role in this one this week. So she could have played Lola Falana,
or she could have been the guy, the hermit on the island,
or the guy in the radio room.
Oh, the radio room guy. Yeah. All right, let's get into this. There's too much. All right. NBC from 9 to 11, a movie. Again, this is not a TV movie. They're showing King Kong, Part 1, the 1976 remake with Jessica Lange and Jeff Bridges.
Yeah.
All right, let's get into this. All right, the synopsis.
Cool. Good luck.
Yeah. We'll see if it's accurate. A hurricane devastates the tropical island where a shore party of Captain Steubing and his crew members and passengers are held captive by a strange hermit, while the Pacific Princess totters under the command of a bumbling deputy captain.
Yeah, I would say totter is a generous term.
Totter's very generous. Very generous.
For those special effects.
You mean the papers? Nothing says wind like papers blowing around. We need more papers.
You remember in Empire Strikes Back when they land in the mouth of that thing and they think it's a cave and they shoot the ground.
Mm-hmm.
That's what the level of acting in this hurricane was on that ship.
Well, here's my question: like, why go to the dining room?
Yeah. Why?
What are you hoping to accomplish there?
And they all went back to the dining room immediately. Like Isaac's like, drain that pool. Everybody's in the pool the next day.
It's so dumb. He should have said drain the pool, and they should have flashed to 2 skateboard kids, and they're like, yeah.
They invented the X Games on that hurricane.
There it is. Portholes, Mike. We've got portholes.
Porthole report.
Thank goodness. Which we'll talk about the guest stars, but then I kind of had a theory about that as well. Okay. Actually, screw it. These portholes, I feel like, replaces the confetti scene.
I had a thought. Now, this was a particularly like drone shots didn't exist in 1978, but that's kind of what it felt like. There were a lot of overhead like helicopter shots.
Yeah, it was weird.
And there were 5 million people on that ship, but there were
I don't
no
know where the word
specific wave
600.
shots.
Nope.
Now, I will say this. We will probably come across a few things in this episode that I don't want to chalk up to new season yet,
Right.
because this is such a different episode, because it did really feel like it was shot differently. Camera angles.
Completely.
You know.
I have a note. It's coming up here. I felt the same way.
Yeah. The wave shot, though, I do think it makes sense that it would get replaced by the portals. Now,
Sure.
I was trying to figure out how to categorize the portal shots.
What do you mean? In character or not in character?
So I had so I have 4 here. I'm not committed to these categories. Okay. So we have normal, and
which
by
is
normal,
just what? Give me a little normal.
So normal, I'm considering that you are face on, so you're looking at the camera.
Are you turning into it, or are you already there?
I want to say you're just there.
It's a little different. Yeah, that's different. Yeah.
Okay. And it could very easily just be a headshot or something from Circus of the Stars or something like that. You're not doing any bits. You're in your outfit probably, but it's like pretty basic. And so right.
Not over the top. It's just kind of vanilla pudding. There you go.
Edie Adams, David Burney, Lola Falana. They all kind of did the straight-ons.
Right.
Now, the comma to that one is looking from off camera or looking off camera.
Like, yeah.
Either that or not looking directly. Like, so Donna Mills did that. And the mom of Donna Mills, who I probably will never remember her name.
I feel like John Astin did that too.
Well, that's the weird thing is, right? So he's in character because he's in a weird outfit.
Well, he's got a whole thing on his head, yeah.
Right, but he's not like... So I had him and Mrs. Roper in character, but that was more about their costume than anything.
You know, it's funny. I felt the same way about Mrs. Roper.
Yeah. Because she's got
I left going, I don't know who that actress really is, because
yeah,
it was wild.
Yeah. But then there's the 4th category, which I think is the easiest one.
What's that one?
Which is the comedic.
Oh, yeah, that's
These
easy.
are the people who cannot not take a spit take or some sort of like wacky face, and that
just
was
some
Dick
reaction.
Martin.
Yeah.
Right. Dick Martin and the other guy, Avery Schreiber, is that they, they're just looking and it's like one of those like so.
Well, that guy Avery Schreiber's just. I got a
comedic
face
of him because he was a part of a comedy team in the 70s, which is kind of late to be part of a comedy team still.
Yeah.
But they referred to him as the Oliver Hardy, which I liked,
Okay. So, I could see that.
Yeah.
I could see that.
But so I think the long story short is we'll need to refine our categories, but I think there's some version of that where it's like there's 3 or 4 buckets.
Yeah. That's a good idea.
That you fall into. There's probably a 5th bucket, which is like, oops, we forgot to take one and we had to use like file footage of somebody. So
well, then there's like maybe the guest star who you assumed would go in this certain bucket. Like, oh, this guy's going to be the goofy. You know what I mean? Where it might catch you off guard, or maybe who knows. Fair
also, sixth category, animals.
Like, do we have another animal coming up?
If we have Benji or something like that, just barking into the so
Flipper and just go. What an easy guest star. Why didn't they think of that? It's so dumb.
I just want Flipper in the background of like, not even like his scenes, right? Just
no, you just draw him in a little paper like that.
And then in a controversial, Julie invites him to the captain's dinner, but it turns out he is the captain's dinner.
Or Julie's secretly falling in love for Flipper, with Flipper. Oh, Flipper. She sneaks him into the pool. Making out. I'm a red hot American woman, and you are a Pacific Dolphin.
Did not need to open season 1 with a intentional Julie trying to be flirty scene. That was
so uncomfortable. Like, no one would really ask. Please, we'll get there. All right, so let's go with the guest stars. There's so much meat on this bone. Edie Adams played Maureen Buell. Lots of TV appearances. John Astin. He was the original Gomez Addams, the last surviving cast member of the Addams family, as a matter of fact, at 94 years old.
Really?
Yep.
Good for him.
Lots of film, television appearances, married to Patty Duke from season 1. Multiple. John Astin is the stepfather of Sean Astin. but this is not the Rudy Project. So if you want more information about Sean Astin, Lord of the Rings, or the Rudy Project,
or maybe the Good Times Project goes
or
off.
maybe,
right? Yeah.
Barbie Benton is back.
Go ahead, say it.
I love Barbie Benton. She got a perfect nose.
Perfect nose.
She's amazing. And we'll see her 2 more times on the Love Boat.
I got to tell you, we criticized them going back to the well a few times on guests in one season, but I love bringing these people back now that it's season 2. I feel like, first of all, I don't have to look up half these people. I already know them. Second of all, it's like, it's fun. Like, wait a minute. Barbie Benton is taking care of Gopher here after he's been murdered by a tree. Nobody even remembers these two were hooking up last season. It's great.
He's gonna be like, I must be concussed because number one, you speak English really well, and number two, well, that's well, more to talk about here. We'll get back to Barbie Benton here. David Burney played the title role in the Serpico TV series. I didn't realize that was the thing that made him famous.
Damn it! So I came across that because the person who directed this episode, the Love Boat, and the only episode he ever directed, Paul Stanley.
Paul Stanley.
But not the same guy, I assume.
All right. Well, maybe.
He directed like 6 episodes of the Serpico TV show, which I did not know existed.
I didn't either.
And found David Burney. And of course, to me, David Burney was most famous from being the guy who was married to Meredith Baxter Burney.
Yeah. He was famous from Family Ties, but in a way, he would not be like.
And of course, she was on the first episode last season. So the Bernie's dominating the opening seasons.
I'd say I love the Serpico movie. I'm a huge fan of that. It's a great movie. I had no idea there was a TV show.
There's no way that TV show is good.
Yeah, you can't.
No way.
There's no way. I don't know how long it went on for. Oh, and I wrote down here as well, David Burney and Meredith Baxter Burney, very bitter divorce in 1989. Like, super contentious.
That's why she was never Meredith Baxter Burney at the end of Family Ties, I think.
Well, it's Meredith Baxter. Norm Crosby, Wally the bartender. He was an American comedian referred to as the master of malaprop, which is the mistaken use of a word in place of a similar sounding one with unintentionally amusing effect. Let me give you an example, Mike. I once got kicked in the tentacles.
So do you think that our last episode of season 1 where Pat Morita was doing stuff like that, were those considered malaprops?
I don't
think so, right? Because he was kind of switching phrases around.
Yeah, it was more of like an ethnic.
Yeah. I will say this about Norm Crosby, and I think we said this towards the end of last season. The Love Boat has a reverence, or they treat these old comedians very well.
They do.
And I like Norm Crosby, who I have a favorable opinion of, but I don't know why. I think he was just always around when I was a kid. But I like that. It was like 5 minutes in and out. He didn't do that much, but it was like, I think they do that as well as they do anything on this show. It's kind of like give old comic actors 4 minutes. I do like
why not? It's perfect. It was perfect.
Don't give him 25 minutes.
No. He didn't need that.
Right.
Yeah. Then you
end up with Milton Berle. But yeah,
people that annoy us. Yeah. Lorraine Day plays Vera Simpson, actress, radio and television commentator. Lola Falana from Camden, New Jersey.
But
singer, dancer, actress.
Moved to Philadelphia.
Yeah, I did not know
went to Germantown High School, actually.
Wow. So, well, she didn't speak like she was from the United States. She had that weird, like, affect going. Is
Lola
that
Falana,
a character, or was that her?
So Lola Falana fell into the category for me when we talked about Shecky Green and maybe somebody else, where it's more, I know them as a reference than as a person.
Yeah, I have no idea what she's famous for. I mean, I get
what
she was famous for. But
I assumed she was older. So anyway, she was just in that scene. I mean, they didn't give her a lot to do, but good on them, I guess, for not having her sing during a hurricane, which is probably what they would have done if it was a different episode.
Maybe she
She
was like,
basically
I'll be
became one
on
of the
there,
first
but I'm never
after
singing.
this.
Yeah.
After this, she became one of the first like Vegas residency people. Apparently, she was the first lady of Vegas for a while.
Wow. She was making bank then, huh?
Right. An honor
I
which
would
now
assume.
goes to Britney Spears,
I
Celine
don't think
Dion,
she does it anymore.
Lady Wayne Newton.
Lady Gaga's out there now.
Yeah. Well, it's a
The
good gig if you can get it.
Yeah.
The Golden Knights,
Golden Knights,
the future Oakland A's, if
future
they can get
Oakland
their shit together.
A's,
Yeah.
maybe an NBA team. We'll see.
David Carr.
Antonio Pierce.
That's right. They just drafted the tight end from Georgia.
That's right.
There you go.
You have no one to throw it
He's
to.
the lady. He's the first lady of Vegas, Brock
First
Bowers.
lady, Brock Bowers. Audra Lindley plays
She's
Mrs.
back.
Worth. Mrs. Roper. She's back.
They gave her a lot more to do in this episode.
Yeah, she did. Yeah, they did. They gave her something with some range too, which I thought was kind of cool.
Explore the space, Audra.
Dick Martin playing Deputy Captain Cunningham. Co-host of Rowan and Martin's Laugh-In, 68-73. He's a big deal to have on this show, don't you think?
Yeah, and I think that was exactly like, because if you notice, Dan Rowan, his partner, was in the other two-parters.
Yeah.
So I wonder if these two-parters
friends with the writers, maybe, or
and I wonder if the two-parters are scheduled in a way where it's easier to get bigger names, because that two-parter did have movie people.
Yeah, like, that's true.
You know, so I wonder if the timing of it, or however being that it was first of the season, but
right.
No, I agree. He was good for what it was. You know, I mean, you know, that guy that they played that perfectly. Incompetent captain who at some point goes into a mental like breakdown.
Right.
Which was subtle, right? Like that was like him cleaning his jacket was a mental breakdown.
Oh,
it
absolutely.
His brain shut down. Like that was actually like really well done. And there's where Bear and Jolson pay off. You know, stuff like that. So
Donna Mills played Jeannie Carter. Knots Landing. Who else do we have on the show that was on Knots Landing? Didn't we have someone last year that was Michelle Lee?
Stubby Award winner Michelle Lee.
Stubby Award winner Michelle Lee. That's right.
Was on there almost as much as she's been on the Love Boat so far. So.
Avery Schreiber, Everett Buell. We sort of talked about him before. Lots of TV sitcom appearances and a series of very popular Dorito ads.
Did you know them?
When they said that, I think my brain wanted to remember, but I don't remember.
I looked it up. Nope. No recall. I think it might have been before our time. I think it maybe was more like late 70s.
It was a TV commercial?
There were a bunch of them. If you put Avery Schreiber Doritos into YouTube, there's a bunch of the commercials.
Interesting.
But I did not. They did not ring a bell.
Don't squeeze the Charmin guy for Doritos, basically.
Or he was the Pearl Bailey for the Duncan Hines cookies, but it did not have the nostalgia for me but they had, did you know they had sour cream and onion Doritos in the 70s?
That sounds pretty good though. I would try one of those. That's fantastic.
I love sour cream and onion chips, but I wonder if I'm trying like that. There's no way they had the technology in the 70s to get that right.
No, I like the idea though.
Right. Like today I might have one.
I would eat some sour cream and onion Doritos.
I have two notes on cast before we get on the boat. First of all, did you know one of the people in this episode this week gave an introductory speech at the Baseball Hall of Fame in Cooperstown?
You know what? I do know that.
Lorraine Day.
Yeah, Lorraine Day. She was the first woman of baseball, right? What was that French guy's name that she was married to? What's his name? It was Pierre, like shortstop,
right.
Shortstop A.
Huge baseball town, France. She was the widow of Leo DeRocher, and he got into the Hall of Fame posthumously.
He's a manager, right?
And she gave Leo the lip. So I thought that was interesting.
Wasn't he French?
Yeah, Leo, right? Leo the Lion, French.
No. I really do think so. I think he came from his parents were French. there was something about French. I swear.
Okay, I mean, maybe.
Because that's the only thing I fell down it, but I didn't put I don't know. I
No.
don't know why that mattered.
You should really commit to it, though. I think that's an important thing.
Well, amongst the many French baseball players I talk about often,
exactly, like the Expos.
yeah.
The one note, and I'll try to buzz through this quickly because we have 3,000 things to talk about. Two of the stars of this show were in a movie together. Donna Mills and Edie Adams appeared in 1978's The Superdome.
Well, that sounds good.
Which was released in January of 1978. The reason this caught my eye, was because an IMDb rating of 2.8.
Ooh, that's worse than the Hulk Hogan episode.
It's the Super Bowl, and there's a lot of drama. One of the players has been preoccupied with the game and his bum knee, but he's gonna play through it. And he's also completely ignoring his wife at the time. And the team's star quarterback is busy being courted by a marketing firm. So, like, who cares, right? This is not what a movie is made of.
No.
But that's nothing compared to the real drama. There's a killer running around the Superdome, and it seems that the syndicate does not want the highly favored Cougars to win. They try to get the trainer to drug or incapacitate some players.
Sure.
And he refuses, so they kill him. So the team manager has to try and find out who the killer is before he does something of real damage.
Oh, boy.
Superdome, 1978.
I'm writing down Superdome. It's terrible.
Superdome Project.
Superdome Project. I love it. All right. Any other business before we hop on this boat?
No, because we'll be here all month if we don't.
We'll be here for a month and a half. So. All right, recap. Here we go. We're getting on the boat. Here we go. Woo. Again, Portholes. We've talked about the Portholes. Opening scene. Doc is looking for Gopher. According to Julie, Gopher's been acting kind of loco lately. Apparently he's overdue for his vacation and he's going a little stir crazy.
Which we have kind of established that these guys 10 days on, 4 days off generally, right? So it's like, and
cruise ship.
They're barely working. It's like Isaac came back to work for vacation.
What?
Yeah, I
don't. Enter Gopher with the fake nose mustache glasses gimmick on.
Classic.
Which is great.
Almost tried to get him for the show. Tried to get him, but I was like,
Here comes Deputy Captain Cunningham. He's introduced by Steubing, saying he's taking a refresher course on the Pacific Princess before getting his own ship. Everything seems fine so far.
Not a weird thing.
Not a weird thing, yeah.
Not a weird thing to take a refresher course of running a ship with 600 people on it.
Yeah, I don't know what his refresher course is. I mean, if you came to Steubing for a refresher course, and I have no. Is it about holding two sticks? Do you need to relearn how to hold two sticks?
By the way, shout out this 2-stick shot guy back in this thing.
Jeez.
It's like 9 episodes of that thing.
It's ridiculous. We get a new camera angle, which you'd mentioned before, of the lobby of the ship. Like it's on a crane. You can see the whole.
Yeah.
And I made a note, a few new camera angles this episode. All that season 1 money! Exclamation point.
Or like Paul Stanley was like, wait a minute, you guys could actually make this look better if you want. And they're like, get out of here, Paul Stanley.
I'm feeling good today. Like, no, not that Paul Stanley. All right.
I want to rock and roll all night and use a crane shot every day.
Enter Jeannie Carter looking for her room number from Gopher. But then here's the lack of security. Ask Gopher for the room number for a Vera Simpson. And Gopher has no problem giving her the room number, Coral Deck 123. And Jeannie Carter abruptly walks away once she has the room number. Yep. Zoinks.
I bet you if Jeannie Carter looked like Lola Simpson or whatever the hell her name is, that Gopher wouldn't give him that number out.
Mm-mm. But Gopher's easily intimidated, though.
That's
Like
true.
he's just sort of, you could just be
Who
like, hey,
hasn't gotten that information?
it's just give it away.
Jimmy Walker got like
Free
stopped
passage.
for a minute. That was the closest they came to security.
It's ridiculous. Oh, here comes Barbie Benton getting back on the boat. Uh-oh. This time she is Kiki Atwood, and she immediately puts Doc on the pay no mind list. Like, just don't. Mm-mm.
So they, in a 2-hour episode, there should not be any stone unturned. But they basically have her as some sort of snobby heiress, I guess. But
yeah.
But they make a point because they have her chauffeur there, which is great. I like that guy was really good.
Douglas, the chauffeur.
He was really funny. But they mentioned that she basically got dumped or jilted at the altar by her fiance
the day before the wedding. Day before the wedding.
They never get into it.
No.
You've got 2 hours to kill. You never give me anything. Like, obviously, she's a terrible person, right? I mean, that's where they're going with it. But
I have a guess. Yeah, okay. I have a guess.
Yeah,
I know what happened. I booked this. Yeah, I did some fantasy booking. Yeah. He left her when she found out that she could speak English.
Oh, so you think she's running that thing the whole time?
She's running that old hustle. Yep.
She was good again. She's pretty good. They don't give her a lot to do either.
Maybe it's best. Maybe it's like small amounts of Barbie Benton are better.
Yeah,
like you don't want to give her like a soliloquy.
The her and Julie cat fight could have been better, but yeah, she does a lot with a little.
I feel like Barbie would beat the crap out of Julie. I really do.
Yeah, that was
Julie would cower.
Yeah, that was weird.
She's again. I wrote down here. You kind of mentioned it. This is another example of someone coming on the cruise after some sort of loss. Remember the exciting? I'll be on Annette Funicello. That whole thing.
Oh, yeah,
Widows or like ending some kind of traumatic event, losing. They always come on this ship, and I'm just like, why do they keep going back to that well?
We're better to be.
We're better to be.
I mean, we went back to all the wells. We had an orphan in here.
Every well is gone back to in the same episode. Enter Mrs. Worth. Mrs. Worth again is Mrs. Roper. If we're paying attention to
that'll be much easier.
Yeah, I'm with you. Gopher knocks the camera out of her hand. He picks it up, and she says that there are still kind, nice people in the world like Gopher, who just knocked the camera out of your hand. Like, you have a very selective. What are you, a goldfish? Do you not remember what just happened in 2 seconds? He knocked it out of your hand.
It's the last thing that happens.
But then I was thinking too. I was like, well, are those his gimmick cameras? Did she have a gimmick camera? And because he seemed to have. He had 2 different. He had the water shooting one and the worm shooting one.
Why didn't they see? Why didn't they? That should have been part of the thing. Like he should have.
I feel like it was missing.
Switched up, right?
Right.
And then she shoots John Aston with the worm, and he gets pissed and shoots her with the dirt gun.
Or he's allergic to that specific breed of worm, and now he only has 5 months to live. We see Jeannie Carter again. She's approaching cabin C123. Here's the acting. Shakes her head and walks away. And I put clap, 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 acting, clap, clap, clap.
Yep.
We know something heavy's about to happen.
Yeah.
Here comes Maureen and Everett Buell. And I got to tell you, Mike, I didn't want to spoil it. I hate this couple in this. There's just nothing.
It does seem
they're not even supposed to be in it. They don't even have a title. Like, who are you people? Your support characters. Like, it's too.
It almost felt like we have to pad out the marooned group, but their whole story arc was they were the Lockwoods or the Lockhorns for a while, and then we'll get to it. But their saving moment is adultery again, but it's not even real adultery.
So weird, just
like the whole time it's just like, ugh, you used to be great, but now you're not. And the guy's like, I don't know, I'm all right, and she's like, no. It's just like that's the whole thing.
My theory is that they needed to get two 50-minute episodes without commercials out of this.
Yeah.
So I think especially in that second episode of part two of this, you could feel like the music played a little longer in between scenes, like anything too.
Well, and it's
so
we said a similar thing in the Caper, the part 2 last year, but they had like on-screen stalls, right? Like there's 5 minutes of them drilling.
Yeah.
There's 5 minutes of Harold Lloyd running around like he's stubing.
Mm-hmm.
Obvious things. They didn't do as much of the blatant, like the whole episode just felt like they went back and forth with Barbie Benton being a bitch basically 6 or 7 times. It was just stuff like that, and it makes it worse.
It does make it worse.
As bad as those scenes where you're dragging it out are, it's like at least you can be like, okay, except for that, it was fine. But like this is like you said, just peppering you with the same scene over and over.
Shit. Like just give me a 90-minute episode. You don't have to do, but I get it. Season premiere, ads to sell. It's more time for ads.
I was surprised. We joked about, the Facts of Life goes to London, and you know, isn't there like a Family Ties where somebody steals Tina Yothers' school bag and it's a whole...
No, that's the one where she gets hurt where she's surfing because Tina lost that thing in a cave with Vincent Price and they tied their socks together.
Classic Family Ties. Also, classic London surfing. So looking forward to that one. But that's what those shows are. I didn't know that existed, but this is kind of what that is. This is not a Love Boat episode.
It's in the sound back then. This sounds so stupid, but like whenever you have like a quote unquote outdoor shoot, something happens with this. Like I feel like
you need to be in
like you could hear the overdub. You know what I mean? You could hear it's just weird. Like it kind of takes you out of it for a second because it's not that you're really in it. But
it was like they were using the laugh track.
Right. Yeah.
But there were definitely times where there weren't. And like, it was odd. And it's really hard to take these dramatic attempts that they're doing seriously when you're in a hut. It's just like,
oh, yeah, there's some. Okay. Yeah. All right, let's get
We're not even there yet.
We're not even there yet. Last thing about Maureen Buell, just want to say she looks stunning in the white Jeff cap vest jacket combo. Looking good, Maureen. You go, girl.
She's dressed like, remember Riff Raff in the Garfield commercials or cartoons?
Yeah.
She looks like Riff Raff, the leader of the gang. And
it was the Heathcliff hour, and then it was the Riff Raff. They lived in the junkyard.
Sorry, it was Riff Raff and Mongo and Wordsworth and the other one.
I mean, she's coming in like Ace Frehley without the makeup in 1978. Hey, man, look at Maureen.
Well, that's because she knew the director.
She was just ridiculous. Yeah.
Do you think that was a tribute to Ace Frehley from Paul Stanley?
I could have. I forgot the joke.
Are you ready to rock?
Let's go. A vacationing Isaac Washington enters the boat, not in a matching leather jacket, leather pant ensemble. I will say, good for you, Mr. Washington.
Yeah, but he gets there eventually. He gets to his outfits eventually.
He was supposed to go on a ski trip, but there was no snow. He leaves his bag and just kind of tells Gopher to take it to his room. Wouldn't you go on different?
They come in real hot with Isaac's going to be a dick to these guys for a while. Yeah. Which I guess you do it because it's funny. Oh, it's funny. But it's sad, Isaac, that you came here for vacation. But they also do it because he obviously becomes the hero afterwards, so you can get away with it. But for like the first 20 minutes, I'm like, oh man, Isaac, this is a bad look, dude. You're kind of like, did you ever like when I worked at Wawa, I was dating somebody who worked there for a while, and so I would stop in when I wasn't working. And like, you're just hanging out at the place you work for like an hour for no reason. Like, that's sad. That's sad, Isaac.
Yeah.
I mean, thank God he was there. How many people would have died? But
the last Love Boat episode. That's what it would have been. It would have been the Isaac show next week. Isaac finds a boat. That's why I wrote this note. There's no close-ups of guest stars throwing confetti. Did the portholes replace the close-ups, which we talked about, and I really do think it did.
Good.
Tequila Sunrise for Mr. Washington.
Yep.
Isaac says he could make a better one with one arm tied behind his back. And I just, for the record, want to say we've never seen him mix one drink in 24 episodes of The Love Boat.
Maybe that's the problem, is he's been using both arms.
So he can't do it with two arms.
No, exactly. But if I'm Wally the bartender, get the hell out of here, Isaac.
Well, and it's funny because I was like, okay, one arm tied behind the back. And I was like, okay, wait a minute. This is the easiest drink in the world. It's tequila. It's orange juice. It's grenadine.
Yeah.
You specifically do not stir it.
Yeah. And even if you did, it's bing, bang, boom.
Right.
Stir.
You can stir it. Right.
As you gave me this advice as someone with a recent newborn. It's amazing what you can do with one arm tied behind your back. So
it's amazing.
It's
amazing.
This is not the brag you think it is, Isaac.
No. Again, just I wanted to say, so a tequila sunrise, right? That is orange juice, grenadine, tequila. Tequila sunset is grapefruit juice instead of OJ. That was just a little fun fact.
Ugh.
You don't like grapefruit juice.
Well, I don't like tequila either. So this is
I don't.
A tequila sunset is definitely not for me.
Oh God, no! I just don't like tequila. It's just not. Enter Mike Adler. I'll tell you who likes a tequila sunrise. Mike Adler likes a tequila sunrise.
I'll tell you who doesn't like Julie.
You see the look? Did you see the crazy look?
No, so basically Mike Adler is a soap opera actor,
right.
And Julie recognizes him and then does what every person in a soap opera role does, is gets told all the character things that happen. Hilarious. That's something they should have saved for something else. That's actually good. That would have been interesting to have that combination where it's like, listen, lady, I'm not this guy or something like that. But they never really get back to the acting thing except at the end for his stage name. So I actually liked that Julie was into soap operas because, as we've talked about, there's plenty of time to watch TV on this boat. And I liked that Mike Adler was like, all right, so I got to go.
Goodbye.
I go bang my sister.
Well, that's the thing with the Julie thing. It's like you're in this position professionally where you can't act like this.
Right.
Like you can't be starstruck by the guest you're there to work for. It just doesn't work. And it just makes the whole thing weird.
Right.
Julie's just, I wrote here, Julie has that man hungry look in her eye again. She gets that psycho, starts.
Yeah, she's like, there's like a 2 and a 15. There's no ramp up. There's not like a, you're kind of attractive, or
nope.
I like your work.
Mm-hmm. This
was not a great.
No, it's just normal, par for the course. Yeah.
This was not a great episode for a lot of people.
No. It wasn't a shining episode for quite a few people. Isaac approaches Mara Carol, Lola Falana at poolside, asked her to dinner, and she's just like, no. Flashback. This is what I was saying. There were so many scenes, flash, that it was like,
yeah, it's hard.
Mike Adler walks up to Jeannie Carter and says, I've seen happier faces at a tax audit. Oof.
Also, old artsy shot by Paul Stanley there. Yeah. She's kind of leaning up against the post, and he comes around.
I'm a star child.
Are you sat on a lamppost? Chicago.
Look at us. No, Paul Stanley, we don't need any more smoke machines. Oh, okay. Mike Adler came on the ship with his mom, but she ditched him for a floating gin rummy game. And I thought, is Wendell Sneed up to his old tricks again?
I enjoy a game. I haven't played in a long time, but Gin Rummy's a fun game. But they make it sound like you have to be 100 years old to like Gin Rummy.
And you can only bet like half a penny at a time.
Right.
I owe him 15 cents we played for 7 hours.
And apparently this boat is like Mississippi in 1840. Like people are just taking down everyone with their
just
gins.
luggage full of change because there's no ATMs.
But that was the only shot they gave the mom for a while, right? Like for a while. It's like
until she finally came up to the table.
Right. she's like she's in the sad Marion Ross table in the back, like just bilking these olds.
So, you request the Marion Ross table. Yes.
Sorry, did you like the Ray Bolger, the Ray Bolger suite?
Do you want the Leslie Nielsen balcony? Jeannie obviously has some issue going on, but she won't talk about it with a stranger who she met literally 20 seconds ago, which is fine with me. I was like, you don't have to.
You always say oversharing on this boat. But...
Oh, it's coming. It's coming. It's just, we see Cunningham and Steubing enter, and they compliment Maureen Buell as she immediately starts to criticize her husband. She says he's as romantic as a tree toad. Ouch. Language. It's the gimmick. Now we just
right. And this is where you know it's the Lockhorns. Like, this is what we're doing with you. But like,
Maureen Buell's a jerk.
Do people like this exist? Like, I'm not saying every couple is not happy, but there's no you are happy enough to go on this 10-day excursion with this person that you cannot stand, but you're going to spend the whole 10 days chipping at them. And like every 2 weeks we have a couple that's doing this. Like, maybe
it happened more in the 70s. I don't know.
Divorce is not a thing? Divorce or murder?
Murder. I don't know. Yeah, I don't want to go on a cruise. Let's not go on the cruise.
We've all had failed relationships. You know what I'm not doing is getting trapped. So
No. This is not the thing to do to fix a relationship.
No.
Let's go cut off from the world.
Right. Yeah. But let's not try to be civil at all. Let's just make sure we're getting our zingers in front of complete strangers.
Yeah, start writing now. Like, I want to see that suitcase full of pictures of children, oversized pictures of children, marked deck of cards, and just think,
whenever we bring up the who shouldn't be on the boat, it's always those people, right? People who have had loss or got jilted. It really should be these couples that should not be together, let alone should not be together traveling. So,
no, because there's just two things happening. Yeah. They're sad and they're, you're
kind of bumming out the other people, I would think.
They are bumming out the other people. It's the love boat. It's not the Mope boat. Mope boat. That's a whole different show. This, guest starring Eeyore every week. Oh, bother.
Paul Robeson.
The drummer that was replaced from Kiss, Peter Criss.
Oh,
I know. Paul Stanley won't let him be on the love boat. Doc walks up again to Kiki Atwood to give it another shot, and immediately she's like, "No, goodbye." And he's like, "Mike Adler,
Doc's not doing well." You know what's funny with the Doc shoot downs are, because we've had a few of them lately. Is he doesn't adjust at all. Doc's got one move, so
he's going to take as many swings at it as he can with the same tone, with the same.
You know what it is? Shooters shoot.
It is what it is.
That's what you got to do. You got to make the next one.
What was that Tin Cup movie? When Kevin Costner was shooting wrong in that hole over and over and over and over. Yeah, that's like that.
That's what you do.
That's what Doc would have done the same thing.
Well, and it worked for Doc too. Eventually, all it took was a hostage situation. So.
Well, it just makes me wonder: did it take that many swings to get his medical license too? That's all right. I'll take it for the 20th time. I know I'll pass it this time. He went to medical school when he was in his early 20s. He's mid 40s. He just started practicing medicine like 24 episodes ago.
At one point, Doc says he never lost a patient. Do you actually think that's true?
Well, the wording's very specific.
Yeah.
He didn't say I'd never had a patient die. Like he didn't say that.
Well, you know what
I never lost them because I knew exactly where they were.
Right, because I put a bill on them. He probably never lost a patient because he probably just ignored the patient, so it doesn't count. Like that poor guy with the back injury. He was busy making time with somebody.
I know where they are. They're all in the freezer still. Come with me. I'll show you. Mike Adler telling Jeannie that if she needs to talk to someone, she can talk to him. She says, "You're a perfect stranger," and then goes on to say, "Well, I hired a private detective to find my mother, and she's on the ship in room C123. Well, I said apparently in C123. Well, if she had just said the room number, couldn't have been like, that's where my mom's staying. Oh, but they wouldn't have.
Right.
All right.
They wouldn't have, it wouldn't have
We
had all
wouldn't
these
have the
crazy
incest
mix-em-ups.
scare.
Yeah,
Sure. She tells Mike that she dreamed that her mom would be happy to see her, but she was scared she wouldn't. And I wrote, overshare again on the boat.
Yeah.
This is day one of the boat. Day one.
And I tell you one thing, if he looked like old Everett Buell, he wouldn't be spilling her guts.
No.
Good for Donna Mills, though, because we know what a Mope her previous husband was on this show. He would have been on the Mope boat for sure. So.
Oh, looking at his shoes.
We revenge.
Right. We see a sign for the radio room. And I went, wait a minute. Why is the radio room like in just a cabin? Like, wouldn't the radio room be near the bridge? Or why? What do you have better reception when you're a couple levels down when you're next to other? What? And it just says radio room.
Yeah,
that's not what a radio room is.
Yeah,
and it's just one dude.
Yeah, it's a guy. If it was on the other side, it would have been the broom closet.
So the message we're getting, it says hurricane alert, attention, hurricane approaching Mexican coast. Couple things here. Wait, this is day one of the cruise. The cruise just left.
Yes.
And nobody checked the weather before they left.
Yeah, what was the meteorological
That's what I was trying to figure
in
out.
1978 for hurricanes?
Is this pre-Doppler? I don't know. I don't know what this is.
Do you guys have a window?
Like, how do you not?
Because this comes the next day, right? Like they go on that jaunt the next day.
Yeah.
So the hurricane at most is coming the next night. So
like,
yeah. Like you feel some of that. Like you feel some of those tropical winds. So
it's radio guy gives the hurricane warning to Captain Cunningham. I say Captain loosely. And he asks him to give him to Captain Steubing. And Anderson says, "You do your job, I'll do mine."
Mm-hmm.
Here comes Mrs. Roper. She's asking, I'm going to just call him Anderson. Anderson had to get to the Lido deck. Cunningham. I don't know why I put Anderson there. Cunningham. Wow, I wrote, that's weird.
You're thinking of Teddy Anderson. You think R.I.P. Teddy Anderson.
Ted R.I.P.
By the way, how was this episode not dedicated to Bob Crane, you savages?
Stubby winner.
Multiple, maybe.
Multiple stubby winner. Yeah. Asked Cunningham how to get to the Lido deck. He draws a map for her on the back of the hurricane warning because he's just a dunce. And then turns and walks into an occupied cabin. I know where I'm going. He's just shell-shocked.
Nobody locks their door on this boat. There's a lot of just walk-ins in this episode.
We see Isaac bringing Gopher and Doc to the pool area to see Mara Carroll, Lola Falana. He wants Doc and Gopher to make it seem like Isaac's a big deal. This is like a wasted scene here, by the way. They ask about his oil wells, and she's gone. Mrs. Worth has now replaced her, but nobody knows that. And she tells Isaac she can't do dinner, but she can have a nightcap later. Mrs. Roper, wah, 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 wah.
And I think that's the act break for scene one. So it's like,
what?
What is happening here?
Well, and also they're in a sprint to make something happen. Like I feel like this whole thing is just a sprint to get to dinner time.
Right. And a little behind the scenes for the listeners. At this point, after watching that only, I had texted Mike that this was crazy, and we had gotten to none of the crazy stuff yet.
None of the crazy stuff had even. So we're back. It's dinner time on the ship. Captain's dinner is back. Although the table's a little underwhelming at the captain's table, the way the setup, but
the whole dining room is very small this week.
Yeah, it's really weird.
I don't know if they're painting or what.
Yeah, it's very odd. Doc's at the buffet, and he tries again with Kiki attitude. Kiki, I called her Kiki attitude because she had an attitude.
That's pretty good, actually.
That's pretty good. Wow. That's the name of my new band right there, Kiki Attitude.
Did Kiki Attitude open for Kiss?
Paul Stanley. That's Paul Stanley. It's a Paul Stanley device. She says, she turns to him and she says, all right, gives Doc her cabin number, tells him to be there at 11 and says, "You better be dynamite."
Yeah, that was like Roxy Blue level.
Dude,
That was just
Doc
like, all right, well, if you're
not.
going to keep bothering me, come up to my cabin, perform, and leave.
Well, Doc's not into women doing that. He's just like, "Look, lady, I'm going to make out with you. I'm going to give you missionary sex, and you're going to love it. That's it. That's Doc.
Maybe we'll split pajamas.
Maybe." That's as crazy as I get. And he's like,
I gotta think Kiki Attitude would destroy Adam Bricker. He has not. Even the twins. He has not messed with this level of person.
No.
He's not ready for this.
No, he's not ready for this. And it just threw him so much. He said, "No thanks. It would probably take dynamite to move you," which is weird because
he's impugning his own performance.
Yeah. I feel like he's Doc didn't like that. He's like,
nah, Doc, that really threw Doc off.
I feel like Doc like subscribes to the like Sean Connery like sort of viewpoint of, you know, I don't want to say it, but you know what I mean. I just feel that. Yeah. Isaac is escorted to the captain's table, calls Captain Stubing Merrill, and aggressively pats him on the back.
Yep. I respect these guys screwing with Stubing or all the people that he's going to have to work with next week. Like, they're going to remember, dude. It's not like you're never going to see these people again. Like,
oh, I love it. Yeah. Get it in when you can get it in.
Right. Yeah.
Says he owns a Concorde. And he tells Stubing that this wine should be chilled, not frozen, which I was very funny to me. But then I was like, why didn't Stubing just say, "Well, you should know"?
Yeah. Like, if that wine is frozen, it's probably from your last shift, Isaac. It's not like you
didn't do your side work?
You're the head bartender.
Yeah, we're low on lemons.
Somebody
sold some side work. Maureen, or the Buells, are at the table. Maureen continues to be crappy to Everett. Blah, blah, blah. Jeannie Carter enters the dining room and asks where Mrs. Simpson is sitting. She's told she's dining in her cabin. Also, boy, they're just free to give out info.
Why do you have that information?
I don't. Yeah, like what? Maybe she's eating liver in her cabin. Yeah.
She's at the vending machine right now.
Yeah, like what? They have like a live tracker on them. Right. I don't understand.
Yeah.
She meets Mike Adler. He asks her to join him for a fillet of armadillo.
Sure.
Just dumb. It wasn't even funny. Here comes Cunningham. He asks if Mrs. Worth made it to the dining room. And then I'm like, yeah, she's sitting right in front of you at the dining room. Why are you asking if she made it to the dining room? Are they just trying to paint his just lack of awareness? Or like, what? Or just an opportunity to show the back of the thing?
Probably. Yeah. I mean, but it's like, we already know.
We already know. Cat's out of the bag, dog. Like, we know. She flaps the map with the hurricane warning on it. Cunningham says, "Nothing like being lost at sea." Stubing says, "I'll relieve you on the bridge." We didn't see the bridge one time during the hurricane. We didn't see the bridge. We got a cabin for a radio room. Really?
And he's not relieving anybody. The deputy captain has never come down to dinner ever. All of a sudden, Stubing's like, Stubing's probably like, shit.
Like, what are you doing?
This guy came down. I have to go up and relieve him.
Well, he's like, who? He should have been like, who's steering the ship?
Yeah.
What are you doing?
It's the real deputy captain, who is neither of you. So,
apparently, Stubing feels comfortable leaving the ship with Cunningham. Wants to go on an excursion, an island near Cabo St. Lucas. Everyone at the captain's table is invited, but Isaac doesn't want to mingle with the help.
Yep.
So he and Lola do not go on the boat. Smart.
Stubing gets to this excursion thing pretty fast. Like, he is looking for any reason to get off this boat. Like,
yeah, I don't.
and what is the mechanics of the excursion? So they are in port. Is that what it is?
I guess they're in port, but then they took like a boat when
The
they were
launch.
in port. Because
We went zero launch the first like 20 episodes, and once they put that old man on the launch, we've been launching all over the place.
like, what do you? But you're at work. You're the captain of a ship, and you're at work, and you're going to go. Hey, I'm going to take how many? I'm going to take 3 other crew members.
Yeah, we're taking 4/5 of our crew, basically.
The only doctor on board for 600 people.
Yep.
Julie, which shows that Julie doesn't. They don't need any of those people. All they really needed was Isaac.
Yeah. No, it was weird and not explained
Very
well.
weird. No.
And there should have been some.
You got to explain it somehow.
Because the other thing that happens is, forget that it's those guys, right?
Yeah.
Like if this is happening during port and they pull that boat out of there, they don't check to see that everybody's back.
Stupid. So stupid.
I know that's what
you're
happened
gonna let
to
the boat
Kathy.
leave?
That's what happened to Kathy Bates, right? So I guess they don't check, which is weird.
It doesn't make sense.
Like a plane checks
There's
before
no
it takes
checklist.
off.
We're just going to leave you in Mexico.
Just give me a clip. Just give me a clicker. Like 500 people went out, 500 people came back. You know, like.
And this is more than one person. It's not like my count's off by 1. Whatever.
Right. It's
my
9
count's off by like 9 people,
8 or 9 people,
including the captain of the ship. Okay. Mike is with Jeannie. He wants to get the cabin number to help her. She wants to do it on her own. See, this would have resolved it right there. Mike goes in for the smooch, and suddenly a bunch of violins start playing. Like, whoa, what did this? Whoa.
It's the Titanic.
Like, were people just waiting around for someone to smooch? And they're like, no. It was so loud.
There. They're still there from Annette Funicello every time she cold watered that other guy.
It's funny. All right. I lost my place. Give me 1 sec. There we are. Excursion time.
All right.
Cunningham is in command, they say, for the next 2 hours.
So 2 hours in command at port, we're thinking. So in theory, he's just watching your car, right? Like,
right. It's not going anywhere.
Right. Because it can't go anywhere because everybody has to get back on the boat.
Right.
So as much as I was ready to be like, Steubing was making this a big deal, normally like he's probably taking a nap or something. So this is not, in theory, this guy should not have anything to do.
This is as much being a captain as it was when I was a kid, when I would get in the car without keys, right? And I would steer the car like that's a race car driver.
Right. Yeah.
It's the same.
Yeah. So of all the gin joints, Steubing leaves work once. So
again, he wouldn't check the weather himself. It's not like he doesn't have a job to do. It's not give this to the captain. It's like, hey, let me see the weather report. Like, isn't that part of your job as a captain?
Is this the most isolated hurricane of all time? There's no wind. It's perfectly fine till it's not.
There's no scuttlebutt about the hurricane. No one's talking about it. No one knows anything.
Yeah,
was there no news allowed?
It's not a tornado that comes out of nowhere. Hurricane, right. Like you get rain and wind and stuff before,
and it's coming right at you.
Yeah,
the cruise company wouldn't have contacted you. Hey, Steubing, hey, what the hell's going on? What do you guys? Yeah, you can't go. Like nobody.
You want a boat out of here, please.
That's odd. Okay. Mike and Jeannie again with the scene. Her mom went to Cabo. Blah blah blah. They go to enjoy the day together. Excursions beginning. For the sake of just clarity, I will be referring to this island as Steubing Island. Steubing said he found this place when he was in the Navy. He was out exploring one night and he found it.
Wouldn't it have made more sense that he found it on the frequent trips to Cabo San Luca that he makes for his job?
Right. Like he's just lying. Like he's just something.
Yeah.
Also, this is the first time I've ever seen him drive a boat.
Oh, that is true.
Yeah.
He
really is a captain. He straightened his hat a little bit. We see a footprint in the sand after Steubing says the only thing on this island are peacocks.
Yep.
Uh,
Take that,
Everett,
NBC.
yeah, nice. Eat it. Everett Buell sees someone on the other side of the lagoon. My note is Maureen basically tells everyone else that Everett is full of shit. So don't listen to Everett.
Don't listen to my husband.
But then everyone's like, oh, I saw it too. Since like Mrs. Buell looks like a joke. It's just enough of these guys. Enough.
Yeah.
We flash to the ship. Cunningham is in Stubing's office, just doing nothing, replacing his name on
with a bigger nameplate. Yeah.
Here's that radio guy. Radio guy asks about the hurricane. Cunningham has no clue what he's doing. He's nothing. Just get out of here. Just
is this the first? So the radio guy gets no name.
No name.
He's very tall
For a radio man.
Is this the first time that we've had a nameless crew member have multiple scenes? I guess the chef technically, but like usually when you're in multiple scenes as a not guest star crew member, you're in like one and done.
Well, I mean, Wally got a name after he fell down the flight of stairs.
Vince.
All right, who's Vince? Wally? Wally the bartender.
Wally the bartender. Yeah.
Wait, did Vince get a name? Yeah. Vince got a name and then he fell.
Was like, hey, Vince, can you take these up the steps? And then Vince died and they never talked about him again. But he didn't get 2 scenes. He just got the 1 scene.
He got 1 scene. That's
so the radio guy gets 2 very important scenes, doesn't even get a name.
Within the first half of the first episode, too.
Well, they didn't pay him for that second half.
You'd think the radio guy would be vital into figuring out if the hurricane had passed. They're like, is it passed? No, ask the radio guy. And they're like, no. He's too tall.
He had to check out.
I'm too tall for that.
His radio room cabin.
He got out of Cabo. He's at Senior Frogs. Back on Stubing Island, Stubing sees the boat is gone, and apparently he can tell by looking at the rope that the rope has been cut, or Doc can, because he's a rope
Boy Scout
and knife expert. Yeah. Enter John Aston, looking like a lunatic in the woods, singing "Happy Birthday" to me. And he has a rifle.
John Lennon and Jesus Christ.
Just all crazy. And then we introduce him and we go right to commercial.
Yep. At this point now on Stubing Island, every commercial break has like a musical flair.
Yep.
And it is 100% the Rudolph Christmas special. Like every single time it's like, and here comes the winter. It's just like everything is that. Like,
it is funny. That is funny. We're back on the ship. We hear an announcement saying the ship will be leaving in 15 minutes. Oh no. Mike and Jeannie again. Mike notices people are returning from Cabo. Jeannie decides that it's time to meet her mom. Then they cut back to Isaac and Mara at the bar. Like it's a lot of this. Isaac goes to check with the radio room because the ocean is getting choppy.
The weather started getting rough.
The last time I checked, but the radio room didn't even have windows. Like, hey, the water's choppy, radio. Wouldn't you just ask him radio related questions? The weather guy, the radar guy.
Well, I think maybe the radio room is like the epicenter. That's like your one-stop shop, right? Or maybe he's boys with the radio guy.
Located deep in the heart of the passengers' cabins, the radio room. That's the after hours bar too. That's what they do there. Enter Isaac and Mara to the bar. Isaac goes to check with the radio room. Okay. While he's gone, Wally, the bartender, completely sells out Isaac.
Yep.
And tells Mara that he's a bartender.
Yeah, that's what you get for like besmirching my drink making skills.
Being mean to Wally.
Yeah.
He's just filling Wally in, wins. Man. And I thought too, I bet you that one he screwed up, he gave to Mike Adler.
Yeah, Mike Adler was fine with it because he's a class
great. I like a tequila-y drink.
Yeah.
We're back on Stubing Island. John Aston's leading him down a path on the island while holding them at gunpoint. He leads them to his...
Sorry, not counting the skeets. Second weapon, right?
Well, no, the Christmas episode.
Right, but...
not counting the skeets.
Right. This is the second time a gun has been pulled on someone, right?
Yeah, second.
Okay. So
yeah.
I know you don't like that.
No, I don't really care for that. I don't really care for that. I don't think you need that.
Wait, did the Did the caper people try to ever use a gun?
I don't think so. Because everything was, remember Plan B was the perfect disguise of Stubing,
Right. Yeah,
but he couldn't talk like Stubing.
Yeah,
and he
gun would have
couldn't
been
wear
a
a hat.
better plan than some of
It would
them.
have been much better. Just go up to the safe with Gopher at gunpoint, take the thing out of the safe, and then just get off the boat with your goons.
So stupid. These two-parters are gonna kill us.
It's a lot. It's a lot of nonsense. It really is. So yeah, Aston's leading him down the path, holding him at gunpoint. He leads him to a camp. This is just ridiculous. Who built this? With what supplies? Why didn't you buy a boat? Why didn't you build a boat with all these supplies? You have weather vanes and giant.
Yeah.
You couldn't have built a boat. You built a whole city.
I don't think he wants to build a boat. Should have had Tinker Toys.
So they're in the hut, and Stubing shakes the hut because that's what captains do.
You know what, Captain? There's 8 of you. There's 1 of him.
No kidding.
You could have just bum rushed him before he locks you into this hut very quickly.
If you're gonna brag that you're a military man, then why don't you act like a military man and go do something about this?
Get those fat little thighs. Wrap around this guy's neck.
Crush his head like a coconut, Meryl. Come on.
It's a scene in Lost where Saeed kicks a guy down. He's tied up. He kicks a guy down and he snaps his head right off. So that's
problem solved. Jeannie walks up to cabin C123, knocks on the door. Oh, we're gonna meet but it's the housekeeper and not Mrs. Simpson.
Who confused?
Although how would she know that?
A little bit like Mrs. Simpson.
A little bit.
Not
well,
a lot.
Then I was like, well, how would she know she's housekeeping?
Right. It was enough that I was like, wait a minute. Now it wasn't.
Yeah.
Her, but it was like, let's make her look completely different than the mom.
So there's a housekeeping staff that changes all the bedding every day. And there's not one representative of those people in isn't that weird? I'm sure there has to be more than one.
But it's not just that. If they're changed, I wonder if this is something that started after Radar got trapped in the room with that dog.
Or it's the lice suite.
They're like, we got to change these sheets every day to make sure these passengers are not dead.
And they're not make sure these passengers aren't male dogs delivering puppies.
Because that's way worse to clean up after 4 days.
That's horrible. There's no mess. It's amazing. It's a miracle. It's a miracle. It's called dry birth. We see Cunningham trying on his hat. Isaac knocks and asks if he has a hurricane plan. Cunningham tells Isaac to go get him a drink.
Yep. Dismissed. The
70s.
Yep.
Stubing Island. John Aston trying to light his pipe and hurricane winds. I was like, what is this guy doing? It's match after match.
It's funny.
It just made me so upset.
We're deep into this recording already, and you would think, oh my God, we have so much left, but we really don't.
It's not a lot.
Things really move fast now. Once that they're on the island.
Once the wind picks up a little,
the plot goes down.
Yeah, it's about to not much left here to talk about, really. In fact, I mean, this is almost it for the first episode.
Yeah.
If we were just doing one episode, we would be done in like 5 minutes.
Yeah, it's amazing. They set up. I think they set up a bunch of things.
Look at these twists and turns. M. Night Shyamalan didn't direct this.
Yeah, but they really didn't. It's like 6 dominoes.
It is. It's
and like whoever Rube Goldberg's like dumb cousin is. It's like that's
they just like this is our
right.
best.
Right?
Is this our best?
No. This is the foot we want to go forward on for the season premiere.
Maybe John Aston's pressed for time. Who knows?
John Aston seems like he had a lot of time.
He had a lot of time.
And by the way, John Aston was fantastic.
Yeah.
John Aston was absolutely great. He basically is playing his character from Night Court. In this.
He's a pro.
He's great. He shouldn't have been on this episode.
No.
This
He shouldn't have been
should
on
not
this.
exist.
No. You know who this could have been? Sharon Glass. This is the perfect spot for Sharon Glass right here. Oh, that would have been funny. Sharon Glass and Mrs. Roper live on the island for maybe 6 months, maybe less. After ever, Anyway, it's terrible. You can't see her with all that hair and stuff.
Oh, Cagney.
Sorry. Here comes seductive Julie. And I went, why didn't they pick Barbie Benton for this?
Yeah. And you know who else thought that was Barbie Benton?
She was like,
Barbie Benton's like, I've been on this show.
She's like,
I definitely watched episode 12 from last season.
Yeah.
We all know this almost felt like I don't give these shows enough credit for being meta in 1978, but this almost was like, okay, here's what we need to do. Once every few episodes, we're gonna have Julie try to flirt because it's the worst. So
it's bad.
Steubing dunks on her, man. That's bad.
She ties her shirt and she goes into her red hot American woman routine.
Mm-hmm.
Again, I wrote, even Steubing thinks this is awkward.
Yeah.
And then basically John Astin's like, nah, I don't want the skinny one.
Yep.
I don't want the one with the man haircut. He might as well have been saying. Like,
although update, I think we're growing that out. I think we're in a bit of a grow out here. I think it was hard to tell on the island, but there was a scene. So. There was a scene during that dinner scene when she comes downstairs. There was she looked like she had it styled in a way that was not last season. So I just don't want it to look like a normal person. Fingers crossed.
I'm tired of her looking like Larry Bird, The Pride of French Lick Indiana. Now Mrs. Worth tries to act seductive because John Astin's saying that she's more his style. She tells him that she's naked in the cabin. It just didn't work. Carruthers, John Astin, demands a surprise birthday party to be thrown for him. He said, after the party, you can signal the ship. But he really wants a set of Tinker toys.
Which, makes sense. He's got to build some of the stuff for his, wind chimes or whatever he's got there.
Right. It was weather vane and his, his coconut milking machine. Steubing now sees the back of that map that Mrs. Worth had with the hurricane warning on it. Dun, dun, dun. Back on the boat. Cunningham's in Steubing's office flipping a coin. Always a good sign of a leader to visibly be flipping a coin over and over again. Because you don't even trust the outcome of the coin flip.
That's out of 17.
Isaac shows up, says Steubing's launch hasn't returned yet. Cunningham calls the bridge, tells the bridge to lift the anchor and set off, because Isaac was basically saying you gotta sail away from it.
Yeah.
And then we see so many papers flying around the pool. It's like a paper NATO. Just to show you all the wind. And then I'm like, where did were people doing reports?
It's the great blizzard when the Bumble showed blizzard. Up.
Well, I was wondering
let me tell you about the great hurricane in Mexico coast.
Just paper cuts everywhere. Look at me. I'm covered in paper cuts.
And to your point, 20 minutes ago, beautiful skies.
Beautiful skies. Full pool.
I know there's an eye of a hurricane. That's not how it works.
No. There's not a reverse eye. The eye's not on the outside. The leading front is the eye. It's peaceful.
The iris of the hurricane.
The iris of the hurricane. And then I wonder if it's that girl still on the boat that was writing her dissertation. Like, all of my notes.
Oh, she finally got it.
Yeah, she was writing it poolside. Isaac goes to Mara's cabin. She calls him out for being a bartender and for lying to her about being a polo player and a jet pilot. Hey, Lola Falana, don't be so dumb. Okay, don't be so dumb. No offense.
Right. Yeah,
but
really, I own the Concorde. Come on.
Right,
Lola, you know how much
polo player. Like, stop it.
Come on.
She throws books and a lamp at him until he leaves. Boom.
Classic.
So We're on
Yeah,
Stube and I.
she's from Philadelphia.
Yeah,
By the way.
that's a Philadelphia move right there. That lamp throwing. She's thrown a lamp before. You could tell that muscle memory. You can't hide muscle
Yeah,
memory.
that's not acting.
So we're back on the island. Stubing now knows that this hurricane is coming. Also, wouldn't you bring a radio with you?
I guess
like in Star Trek, when you went to a different captain, they're like, "Hey, leave all your communication devices behind."
That could have happened.
What about walkie-talkie?
Like, John Aston could have been like, "Leave all your stuff here."
I just didn't see one. It's like, yeah, who knows?
No, I agree. I mean, Stubing did. I feel like we said this many times. Stubing does not cover himself in glory here at all.
He didn't even bring any water. Does anybody bring a canteen? Did people not need snacks back in the day? Like they didn't get dehydrated.
Excursion. I think excursion, no snacks. I think if it's a day trip, snacks. A jaunt.
That's like late lunch. Fair enough.
Yeah. So.
Stubing demands that Crothers give him the building tools that he used to build the cabin with.
Yeah.
And I put, why?
You're a terrible hostage, Merrill. First of all, you don't get to demand.
But if you have building tools, then wouldn't you just use them to overpower him?
Well, I think he's trying to now. So I think it has now shifted from escape to securing.
Now it's we're all humans,
safety. Right?
Because I'm thinking, well, Stubing, shouldn't you try to kill him with like a hammer or something, or do something?
At one point, I thought it was going to be like this guy was a former soldier, and Stubing giving him orders was going to trigger him back into action or something like that. But no, Stubing just has one speed.
And at the end, you'd be like, relieved of duty, son.
Something like
just
that.
to let him off the hook. Yeah, no.
But Stubing's like, all I know is to give orders that will not be followed.
Just, we see that's the light. We see the storm coming. It's getting dark. And that we see the to be continued flash up on the screen.
Unfortunately.
Okay, part 2. We're just going to go right into this. We see the ship is being rocked by the storm. And I wrote not sure why they're trying to eat dinner in the dining room while this is happening. It's cool.
Something has happened to the dining room. It is so small.
It's so tiny. What happened to the dining room?
There could not be a worse dining room for you to be trapped in during a hurricane.
What are you doing? Why would you just stay in your room? You got and everything's on plates. Wouldn't this be the time to break out paper plates?
Have they made an announcement? They never actually make an announcement, right?
No.
Because Isaac gets up.
The only announcement was that the boat was leaving in 15 minutes.
Right. Yeah.
And then they're like, gee, somebody could have given us a heads up. Jeez. Isaac tells Cunningham to do something. But this is after the marinara stain. And once that happened, Cunningham just shuts it down.
There's so much blood.
So much. He's just, I don't know where he is. But
it's like I said earlier, it is probably not intentional. It is amazing subtlety, if that's what they were actually going for.
He just was that was it.
That's it. And I don't think you even see him again until the very end at that point. But it's
I think you go see
because Isaac's basically the captain now.
Yeah, no, we do see him one more. Yeah, there's one more thing where Isaac asks about Stubing later on. He's still like looking at his jacket.
He's got to go send the boats. You're right. Yep.
Isaac takes charge, tells a crew member, I think it's the same radio guy, to tie everything down, to drain the pool and ignore Cunningham. And I thought, well, that's an awful lot to tell one person to do at the same time.
Well, he's got the radio though.
Yeah, how do you drain a pool? How the hell are you supposed to? Is there a plug at the bottom? Oh, it's just a plug at the bottom of the pool.
It takes a while to drain a pool.
I got to get a water pump? That was weird to me. Like, why would that was? So people wouldn't go in it? Is that why we're draining it?
I was trying to think. So I guess.
Or is it a weight thing?
But wouldn't you want more weight?
Like high center of gravity? Is it like a Suzuki Samurai type of thing that they flip over if there's water? And if it's that touchy, should we really have pools on cruise ships?
And it's not. It's a 3-foot pool.
It's a 3-foot pool. It's not one of those like 400-foot deep free diving. Right. Yeah.
Is it maybe if the boat flips over, you're going to be in water anyway? Yeah, I don't know what that's about.
To discourage people, from people running by the pool We
You know
just
what
take
it
the
is?
water out of the pool.
I guess theoretically you could use it as a shelter in certain scenarios, right? Because it's like a concaved area.
I don't
That's
know.
my official guess. I don't know. Maybe Isaac
It makes no sense.
You know
to me,
what?
But
It's Isaac's revenge for falling in the pool.
oh, that is true. Now no one swims. Permanent adult swim. And by adult, I mean me. He tells everyone to go back to their cabins. Cunningham's still only concerned with the marinara stain.
This is the best scene. So everybody has to file out single file because the dining room set is so small.
It's so small.
that it's like they're just like leaving like one at a time.
They invest in new camera angles and they're like,
yeah,
here's the bad news. We have to get a smaller dining room.
But the thing is, you have to, as an actor, you have to walk in single file, but also convey
like a rocking
action.
sea.
It's like, so ridiculous.
We're back on the island.
You know why I think they had to do it, besides I'm sure it's like some budget thing or a new season, they didn't have the sets opened up yet, is that normal dining room in that shaking, it would have been like The Exorcist. Like stuff would have been flying.
Oh, yeah. It was too much. Yeah, they wanted light touch.
Yeah.
They're trying to get away with painting with such a wide brush on the Love Boat in season 2.
No. Sorry.
Back on the island, everyone's waiting the storm out in the cabin. While checking on the roof of the cabin, which makes no sense. Go outside in the hurricane that we're all in here to try to stay away from. Go out and check. A palm tree falls on Gopher, which I don't know how much of it fell on him if the only thing he had was a concussion. So it only hit him in the head. Let me just say, palm trees are huge and palm trees are really heavy. But,
well, it would have broke his neck, theoretically, if it hit you in the head.
Broke his back or something. He would have been no blood.
But, I mean, this is insane that Steubing tells him to do this.
Gopher should have been like, no, we're not on a ship. You go do it, Navy man.
Been like, no, I'm not going out there to check on the roof. Guess what? The roof is wet.
The roof is the roof. We'll be the first to know if there's a hole in the roof. They lift the tree off of him and move him inside the cabin. Gopher's got a concussion. Doc tells Kiki to stop feeling sorry for herself. To Kiki Selfless. Maureen and Everett, here we go again. Maureen says she's not happy in the marriage and she wants to be swept off her feet by a man, a real man. Everett talks about his first mistress, and apparently he's been cheating on Maureen for years.
I have so many questions about that scene.
What was the point?
First of all, completely out of context. Like Gopher's dead, basically, and they're having this conversation mid-hurricane. Guess what? If I'm going to die in a hurricane, I don't want to solve our relationship.
No, I'll go to the grave with those problems unresolved. Right. I'm fine with it.
And one of us
I can go to bed mad.
On that cruise, so either I'm going to feel pretty stupid or pretty pissed. One or the other, regardless. Mm-hmm. So the first part is she's talking about how she wishes he was a real man and all this stuff. So I thought it was setting up that he was going to like take a run at John Aston. Like try and overthrow him or something like that.
That's what she should have been doing. He was huge.
Get wounded, like something like that, right? No, of course not. Then he decides that to portray himself as a real man, he, spoiler, lies about all these affairs he's having, which is the old thing where I guess the woman is more attracted because other people are attracted to her. But it is yet another weird ass reaction to adultery on this show. Even though it's not real. That saved their marriage. Him lying about being an adulterer in a hurricane.
It's gotta be like a 70s thing or just it just seems but I feel like it's always the man cheating. Well, no, that's not true. Because remember season 1,
Loretta Swit was cheating.
Right.
Yeah.
So they treat it very, I don't know. It's weird.
It was so unnecessary as a plot point.
But it's almost like
it is to the point now where I think they're just like, it's whatever AI was in 1978. It's like adultery, sure, throw it in there. Like, even though you didn't even need it. You didn't even need it in there.
You didn't need it.
At all.
Well, the weird thing too is it's always framed that like this example of adultery somehow strengthened our relationship.
Yeah.
every time. It's very, I don't know. I don't know where that comes from. It's very weird. You couldn't say that now. You couldn't portray this in that way at all now. It would not be cool.
You'd have to resolve it. Like, as far as we know,
Right.
Maureen does not know that he was lying.
Right. Well, no, she didn't. But what a weird thing to, like, I'm going to play a game.
Right.
What?
Yeah. Right. And theoretically, you were going to perhaps die. This would be the last thing you say to your wife.
So weird, man. Why, if he said that, why didn't he say, "Hey, why don't you shut up? Stop yelling at me all the time"? You couldn't keep it real. You had to come up with this crazy lie about.
Right.
What's wrong with you?
No idea.
Shoot. Back on the ship, Mike goes to Jeannie's cabin. He falls on top of her.
Oh,
again, it's so many choppy scenes. Like, okay. Yeah. So now we're back on Steuben's Island again. Gopher's delirious, just talking a bunch of nonsense. Mrs. Worth tries talking to Crothers. He used to work at Disneyland, dressed as Humpty Dumpty after his failed marriage. Fun fact.
Did you notice, though? Then they mention, they don't say Mickey Mouse.
No.
But they describe Mickey Mouse.
Yeah, completely.
And I wonder if it's because they couldn't get away with saying Disney stuff litigiously. Because don't forget, ABC is not owned by Disney at this point. No.
Some rodent, you know?
Yeah, some big-eared guy in a red pants. That's funny.
Yeah. Fun fact, there is no mention of Humpty Dumpty being an egg. In fact, it is believed that Humpty Dumpty is actually a cannon positioned on the wall of a castle during the English Civil War, not an egg.
Wow.
Yeah, it's like a chicken and egg type argument.
Well, non-egg.
Non-egg. So I go non-egg. He misses the sound of a sympathetic, sexy female voice like Mrs. Roper. Because when I think sexy, I think Mrs. Roper's voice.
I mean, to be fair, this guy's been on a desert island for 20 years, but yeah.
Yeah, he calls her a dish. Now we see half the cabin's roof collapses. And Mrs. Worth asks Steubing to say a prayer for them. And, Steubing's going to be all earnest about it. I will, Mrs. Like, shut up. Shut up, Meryl. Stupid.
I watched most of this, most of the island stuff, especially. I watched it with your voice in my head. And I will say this, you are justified in everything you're saying. This is like
a bad one, man.
This was like, who we're really going to screw with this week is Mike Taylor in the future.
It's come on. He's just fake really leader. And
there's one thing he does at the very end that is the worst thing, but this is pretty bad.
It's just cringy. Crothers asked him to mention the surprise party in his prayer, which I thought weird. Mrs. Crothers says God won't mind, which I thought was even weirder.
Yeah.
Like, so what, if you only have 6 months to live, you have a direct line? Like, how does that...
I mean, maybe. She's probably got to fill up some paperwork,
We have to put a deposit down, I think. So,
right. Letter of intent.
That's fine. Kiki Selfless turns over a new leaf by removing her hairband and pressing it against Doc's face first. And I'm like, why is she pressing her dirty ass hairband against Doc's face before she rinsed it off?
I would say again, unearned her face turn in this, right? They didn't really give, they should have had something almost fall on her or something.
A sympathetic act to turn. Right.
I mean, 10 minutes ago, Julie is as mean to her as Julie's been to anybody. She's like, why don't you stop being such a bitch, basically? And now 10 minutes later, she's putting on, I don't know, scrunchies on Doc's face and nursing Gopher. Like, no reason why.
There was nothing to...
No. Why are you less the way you are now? So
just, we're back on the boat. Do you see what I mean in this episode?
It's just it's so much choppiest. Yeah.
So choppy. Back on the boat, we see Isaac calling Cunningham, who is still concerned with the marinara stain, asking him about Steubing. Isaac suggests notifying the Mexican authorities and asking them to search the islands near Cabo. Good for you, Isaac.
So the hurricane's over on the boat at that point, right?
Well, because they left the area.
Right.
I mean, they move.
Right,
Hurricanes
you're
move
right.
east.
I forgot about that.
You'd think it would still be hammering Cabo. They've only been gone for 15 minutes.
Now, apparently the hurricane was this wide. So
it was very thin. Yeah, it was like
thin line.
It was the size of Rhode Island.
Do you think the Mexican authorities that they called were that guy with the rifle that they called to get the dog out of the room?
It is true. All he has is one tranquilizer dart.
Yep.
What do you want me to do?
That's all boat. John Aston.
Mike and Jeannie are reflecting on their night of passion together.
Yeah.
Jeannie still hasn't seen her.
There was a pretty good line in there. I think Donna Mills is basically like, I think he's like, that was a wild night and everything getting thrown around. And he's
there was a hurricane
storm,
too.
like that kind of thing.
Jeannie still hasn't seen her mother. Enter Mike's mom, Mrs. Simpson, Vera Simpson. But Jeannie storms off.
No, so what happens
happened there?
So Mike introduces his mom.
Oh, it's that. Yeah.
And then, wait, you're right. Wait, because how did she find out and she's not there? Why did she storm off?
The name Vera Simpson. Because she asked where the road, so she storms off. And I wrote, storms off.
Mike can't figure it out. Right.
I go, we might have a situation here.
Right. That's what happens. And then Mike's like, oh, she's been looking for her mom. And immediately Vera Simpson's like, uh-oh.
And we go right to commercial.
Like, by any chance, she wasn't born.
Did you happen to have relations with?
Yeah.
It's real convenient the way they've summed that all up.
Yeah.
They should have been like, you might
any
want
port in the storm, Mike Adler. Geez.
Good Lord. Keep it in your pants, Mr. Adler.
You should just assume everyone, the first time you meet them, could be your stepsister.
It could be, especially on this. We'll pull up. Don't you have a giant baby picture of me in your suitcase that you hide? Back on the island again. Here we go. Everyone is asleep.
Standing up like horses.
It's so weird. Bunch of giraffes like holding up for the storm. Maureen and Everett Buell. Maureen wakes Everett up. And she's now decided that he's a real man because of the lie we don't know is a lie that he told her that he'd been cheating on her for years, but he really hadn't.
Right.
But the thing he's being honest about is that he saw a UFO.
Right. Just literally let him catch a tree branch and save her from getting hit by it.
Do something.
That's it. That's all you got to do. Ridiculous.
The storm has passed. Gopher wakes up. Everyone's glad. He's feeling better. Of course, Julie apologizes for no reason because of a lack of self-confidence. I'm sorry, Gopher, that a tree fell on you, knocked you out, you got a concussion, and now you're back.
Right. Sorry, I was being
Settle down,
mean.
Julie. Everything's fine, Julie. Mrs. Worth tells Crothers that today is his birthday, and he's all excited. Kiki Selfless spells out help on the beach with rocks while right? She spells out help on the beach with rocks while everyone's asleep. How is it that she's the only
right? She's a morning person. Also, she had enough time to steal a gun, check the bullets, and
then give it back to him. She confirms it's full of dirt.
Which, by the way, hey, Stuving, in all your naval training, did you ever look inside the barrel of a gun?
Just amazing. You see the barrel packed with dirt?
Do you ever fill a water gun up with sand on the beach? Like that's
it's just no awareness. Kiki knew.
Yeah.
Captain confronts Crothers and tells him that he will be spending the rest of his life in prison for kidnapping and piracy.
Maritime law.
Julie now asks Stubing to forgive Crothers. Stubing's like, listen, just because you don't have confidence doesn't mean that my confidence is so low. I'm going to let somebody kidnap me and hold me at fake gunpoint.
Yeah, no,
Come on, Julie.
fair enough. Fair enough. This man should be arrested. Bummer for John Aston because he's clearly
Bummer.
crazy.
He's super crazy.
I will say, Steubing piles on though, and basically says you almost had Gopher killed, and I'm like, no,
That's a bit much. That's
no,
not. He helped him.
Steubing, you almost killed Gopher.
Yeah, yeah. You told him to go out there, dummy.
Yeah,
always looking.
Yeah, John Aston was not like, let me kill your purser.
Steubing really is Commandant Lassard. Maybe not as exaggerated, but
it's getting that way. And they did this whole episode was really what we always talk about, where it's like they try to make him this military mind and this leader, but when push came to shove, it was Barbie Benton and Mrs. Roper who really
saved the day,
and Isaac who really saved the day. So
we're back on the boat. Mrs. Simpson's at Jeannie's door. She tells Jeannie that she never saw her and that she was taken away from her while she was asleep. She said there was no.
You know what? I could have used that the first couple hours in the hospital too.
That's funny. Mrs. Simpson saying there was no tolerance for people who broke the rules. She was told that it would be impossible for her to raise Jeannie by herself and without a husband. She got married and had to hide the fact that she'd previously had a baby. I wrote, "Are we not talking about the potential incest situation? Are we gonna wait for the credits?"
I'll tell you one thing.
And then she explains, but
Nebraska does not mess around. They're like, we're taking that baby immediately. You had that baby out of wedlock? We're taking it while you're asleep.
You'd be fine in Oklahoma, but don't you come to Nebraska pregnant.
Hey, they call it Nebraska, baby. They call it Nebraska, not Nebastard.
Exactly. What he said. Exactly. We learned about the stepmom situation, and I wrote, boy, we've dodged a potential incest bullet right there. Well, okay.
And it felt so tacked on, right? So Mike shows up midway through, what's her name? Viola, whatever, Mrs. Simpson.
Yeah.
Midway through her stubby attempt. Like she is just like, and I never knew my baby. Like she's doing all that stuff. He's in the back. So then Donna Mills is finally like, okay, cool. Takes it better than I would, but whatever, good for her. But then she stands up and she sees Mike and she's like, oh no, do you see the problem is I'm in love with you? And Mike's like, well, what's the problem? Oh, right.
Oh, no, it's my stepmom. No, that.
And they went to commercial so fast after that. It was almost like somebody in the writer's room was like, guys, we need to write this off real quick. Like,
we might have screwed this up. What's already in the can? Like, well, we need to overdub some lines here, maybe, potentially.
He's got like a beard. He's at Serpico.
That's funny. That's funny. Back on the island again, because of course, Julie and Kiki Selfless are making a mud cake for Carruthers because we're all crazy now. Mrs. Worth is clearly delusional. Captain goes to get Carruthers for the party, and everyone gives him a surprise party. Doc gives him a watch. What is wrong with everybody?
A watch, which seems pretty helpful, actually, for them getting lost.
But like, what do you... Gopher gives him the glasses, nose, mustache. Steubing suggests they get to the beach to light a signal fire. And this is when Mrs. Worth is invited to stay on the island with Carruthers. And this is when, it gets all... Mrs. Worth says...
This was like, here you go. Here is some heavy scenery for you two to chew.
We're going to force you to feel better about... Yeah, we want you to feel better about the John Aston character. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to back you into a corner with sympathy.
Yeah.
Ugh.
So it turns out Mrs. Worth is dying.
6 months to live.
We're all dying, though, honey.
We're all dying. We're all dying. You know,
yep.
There's a reason why the windshield's bigger than the rear view mirror. You know what I mean? Woo. Carruthers is fine with this, and he goes in for the smooch. He's like, yeah, okay, cool. Like, whatever.
Listen, when you're literally the last man on Earth,
hey, that's what it is. She's Isaacson is captain. Here comes Mara. She apologizes to him, does not throw a lamp at him.
Yep.
And she's impressed with how he acted during the hurricane. Tells him to be himself, and then big hug.
I mean, Isaac generally has a rough storyline when they give him one, but he always comes out a better person for it.
He does. Absolutely.
You know, they do that much better than they do with other characters.
I agree. So. Steubing and the party are excited. Steubing and the party are getting on a boat to leave the island. Mrs. Worth explains she's going to stay on the island with Crothers.
Great reaction by Gavin McLeod when what?
For real?
Why would you
like, no, you're not.
Do you think he is going to have her stuff sent like he said he would?
No.
Like it's her.
He forgot as soon as he got on the boat. He didn't even check for hurricanes before he gets on a boat to leave for a cruise. You think he's going to remember that?
That luggage is going to come up in episode like 17. Somebody's going to be like, there's like a lot of old lady clothes here.
You're going to go, there could be a couple corpses on that island. You're like, thanks a lot for getting that back to me. Oh,
my medicine was in there.
So now guests are leaving the boat. That's what he said. It sort of wraps itself up.
It is amazing.
Kiki Selfless says she had a wonderful 3 days and then goodbye.
But that indicates that when they got back, her and Doc were an item. So,
hey,
Adam Bricker. Keep on hammering.
Keep on hammering. How many times can I swing it in that bat? Well, anyway. And we see another gopher camera prank. Wah, wah, wah. Julie way overreacts to. It's water, Julie. I don't know what you think is coming at you in that liquid. It's not vinegar or whatever. She freaked out. We see the Buells seem to be happy now. Doc, of course, because, why wouldn't you ask somebody a personal question? Wants to know more about these mistresses. Of course. Tell me more about these mistresses. It's like, what? Turns out Mr. Buell made up the women. That was a lie. But the truth, the story he was telling the truth about was that he really saw a UFO.
It felt like this in the viewing, but when you really spill it out on paper, there was zero reason for them to be in this episode.
Nothing.
They really didn't add anything. And I don't think it's the actors' fault. I think they were both good. But it was like
3 storylines. Like what was the point of them?
Like,
why do they have an extra storyline?
Love Boat doesn't do this, but they should have killed Everett. Like
both of them should have gone.
Right. That's what it felt like. They felt like cannon fodder for this story. Like, and the adultery thing is cherry on the adultery thing is cherry on top. So
Captain Kirk would take like the
guy in the red shirt. Yeah, it's the Sam Rockwell character in Galaxy Quest. Like that's what it is. Yeah, so
it's funny. Mike and Jeannie, now leaving with Mrs. Simpson, are already planning their wedding because everyone leaves the boat and immediately they should put a wedding chapel right on the other side of like
they should put a divorce attorney on the other side.
They should on that one too.
Now, first of all, Mike Adler is a man of means. If he's a soap opera star. Also, like, I'm sorry. This is like getting by on a technicality. So you're going to marry your stepmom's daughter.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I get it. But if you have to explain the relationship to your spouse in more than like 3 or 4 words, I think you might have gone too far. Like, this is not going to go over well at parties.
No, especially when your in-laws, there's just 3 of them. It's odd, dude.
It's just
That's weird, man.
They write it off so like a
just
misunderstanding.
Casual. Marriage solves everything.
I get it. Technically, no harm, no foul. But it's a little weird. Like,
oh yeah.
It's a weird scene, man. Like,
it is.
Like, Mrs. Simpson, are you telling the girls a gin that story? Probably not.
Oh, the funniest thing happened, and everyone's just like, Oh, and they had
My
sex before they
bastard
knew they weren't
child.
related? Oh.
My bastard child had sex with my adopted child. No, wait,
so there
child.
So there was a window where they thought
and there was a hurricane.
And there was a hurricane. Yeah, of course. Cunningham has decided that the sea is not for him. No kidding. He should go into the dry cleaning business.
The Princess Cruise Line decided the sea is not for you there, Cunningham.
Yeah, that's... I've decided to...
pursue other endeavors.
He said he may become a hermit on a deserted island like his brother did. What?
For about...
the chances...
For about 5 seconds, when John Astin first showed up, I thought it was Dick Martin in costume.
Oh, that would have been cool. Like his twin brother.
Yeah.
I love a twin story.
It was John Astin, but...
Isaac and Mara have a full day of plans. Stubing offers him a promotion and extra pay. Stubing says, Isaac, your vacation is over. Now get back to work. End of episode.
Okay. So I will say this, that the payoff for Isaac does a lot of lifting for all of that.
Sure.
Now I will be curious to see if it actually makes it to future. Like I'm sure somebody stitched on the thing on his bartenders. That's weird to have.
What's he going to get promoted to if he's the senior bartender? What are you, super secret senior?
Like when like NFL guys like they have like a assistant head coach.
Oh,
so I wonder if it's gonna be something like that. But anyway, that felt like the first time, and again, we don't know if it'll actually stick, but that felt like the first time that somebody's good work is being rewarded.
I agree.
We don't see a lot of good work either.
No, we don't see a lot of good work,
which is definitely part of it. But yeah, that's quite a way to come back. So totals in a recap. Our intention is to kind of recycle best and worst episodes because we're in a new season. Check the stubbies to find out what was the best and worst of season 1, but we're starting with a fresh slate. So technically, much like a marrying your stepdaughter or son or whatever, brother, this is both the best and worst episode of the season. Also, technically, we don't count two-parters because they are not normal. And the reason we don't do that sometimes is because they're longer and you have more storylines, and it's really not a fair comparison. This one doesn't count because it's not a Love Boat episode.
No, this is just a weird... It was odd. It's odd.
Not. It's like the Search storyline is definitely a Love Boat story. 100%. Could have appeared on any episode.
Sure.
Some of the Isaac thing absolutely could have happened, but it would have been like Stubing gets...
But it's kind of the same story. It's linked to the same story.
Right. Exactly. But like if you had an episode later on where it was like Stubing gets malaria and he's sick and Isaac steps in and does some of that stuff, like that would make sense. That's a Love Boat story. So I'll give him half on that one.
Yeah.
That's not even a real... That's a completely different show. Whatever happened on that island. That is not a Love Boat episode.
No.
That is not really an episode of television I'd want to watch.
No, it's crazy. It was crazy, especially for a season premiere. Like, wow.
Like, what's the best moment on that island?
I mean, I guess you can make an argument. The face turn of Kiki Selfless, but it's not really a... I mean, the only thing, the payoff of that whole thing was Mrs. Worth, I guess, in the end, deciding to stay on the island. But is that really... That's not really...
You know what that is, too?
Technically,
you know what that is?
Gift of the Magi?
That is, I assume... Oh, so 2 notes. Because, so, at one point, Mrs. Worth clearly is saying goodbye to John Astin, but she doesn't say anything. She just kind of gives him a look, and he goes, "I know." So Star Wars Empire Strike Back ripped off the Han Solo Princess Leia thing from this episode. 2, on Lost,
it's amazing insight,
the character of Rose has cancer, and she never goes off the island because the island has healed her. So potentially Mrs. Roper will survive, and J.J. Abrams ripped that off.
You're saying this is that island with the polar bear and all that?
This is the Lost Island. Yeah.
Oh.
So
I've never seen an episode of that show.
I just rewatched it last year. It is really good, and then it's not, but it's worth your time.
I'll check it out. I've heard not great things, but
it's worth your time.
I'll check it out.
There's a lot going on. So anyway,
so by default, this is the King of the Hill / not King of the Hill.
Yeah. So enough. Hopefully, so I think next week we'll be bumping it for sure. But I would say it's not even as good as the 2-parter we did last year.
No, it's nowhere near.
Not love.
No, we didn't love that one.
Captain of the week.
I mean, I don't know where else you go with this. It's got to be Isaac.
Yeah,
because he was the captain, literally.
No, he was the captain now. Yeah, he was great. And again, I feel like they've done this a few times where Isaac comes in hot, kind of has a face turn in the middle. Not even a face turn, but just like a realization.
Like a more, yeah.
And I almost wonder if they realize it, but B, it's like they didn't give Ted Lang anything to do last season. And maybe they realize, hey, he's got the chops. Like,
absolutely.
Listen, that Roxy Blue thing, that just isn't Diane Carroll. Like, that's him. The Pearl Bailey one, that's him too. Like,
he's great.
He can keep up with these guys.
Yeah.
You know, so no, he was really good. I was glad to see that. I did enjoy the incest storyline more than I expected.
Sure.
I thought it was good. It had the proper amount of gotchas.
Yeah.
Basically a double gotcha.
So
I thought that was okay too. But yeah, I think it's Isaac.
I agree.
Walk the plank.
Again, who else are we going to pick but Cunningham?
Yeah.
Again, I could pick Steubing every single time for Walk the Plank, but what's the fun in that? I would say it has to be Cunningham. There's nobody else.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, he technically almost killed 600 people.
Yeah.
But I will say, Steubing put him in that position.
Oh, it's Steubing's fault.
Yeah. Yeah, I think this is a season. You referenced season 1 Steubing, episode 1, as the pinnacle of his season.
Oh,
and I would say this is not that.
This is whatever the opposite of that one.
This is the opposite. So maybe that means nowhere to go but up. But the fact that he almost killed Gopher, almost killed 600 passengers,
almost killed 601 people this episode. Yeah.
Yeah. So, well, hopefully onward and upward for Steubing and this show as we get back to normal next week.
Well, you know what? I have to take this back, though, because if the Walk the Plank guy is Cunningham, right, I don't think that's fair. And I say that because no one else realizes his limited capabilities. So somebody else, like you said, put him in that spot.
Yeah.
He couldn't have possibly succeeded in that spot. So is it Cunningham's fault that he was put in that spot? Or is it Steubing's fault for like you said, I think I'm going to switch and say Steubing, not even in a joking way.
No,
I think level of irresponsibility.
If you're ever going to give it to Steubing.
Oh, you know what? Steubing.
I will say the Buells, which I did not think coming into this episode but absolutely the Buells were just nothing. And I really am starting to get annoyed with this adultery thing. So
yeah, it's just, I hope they give it a break for a bit.
Yeah.
Like enough.
Don't even mention adultery for the rest of the season. Just, you don't have to do it right. Just don't do it at all. So
I agree.
That's totals and a recap for season 2, episode 1.
Well, let's do this. Let's check the old mailbag.
All right. First time
in a while. Probably have some time to probably take a bit to go through the folders.
Don't get a paper cut.
It's checking for mail. Let me just make sure. Let me just hit it again. Refresh it again. Probably have. You can find us anywhere you get your podcasts. Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon Music. You can find us on our Facebook group, also on Instagram, both Love Boat Project, and reach out to us on email. Doesn't seem to be working so far.
Probably some. You know what? Maybe we should check our spam
internal bug.
Spam filter.
Yeah.
Probably.
No, I checked that. Doesn't seem to be a filtering issue.
Yeah.
So
maybe it's the hurricane.
It's the hurricane.
Yeah.
I know everyone's busy with the holidays approaching. It's all good. It's just a slow time of year for
the Memorial
email.
Day. The Memorial Day holiday rush.
The pre-Memorial Day rush is upon us. Again, you can email us at theloveboatproject@gmail.com. Don't be afraid to send an email or two.
You could be the first person to have an email read on this show. We know you're listening.
We know you're
We
listening.
do know you're listening.
Come on.
We don't know if you're writing.
I'd put so much faith in that Canadian Walk of Fame thing. I thought we're going to get,
Oh, I forgot about that. That was so last season though. This year, I want to hear why you empty a pool during a hurricane.
Yeah, or what's there to do in Utah in the summer? That's what I want to know. Also, if we have a Utah visitor, is it going to be the Utah Coyotes? Just wondering.
Or maybe it's the Cougars from Superdome.
That would be good. That would be good. Anything else to plug, Mike?
Hidden Season Patreon. You can listen to Absolutely Hammered every Wednesday. We have a new episode, me and Chris and Justin talking about the Phillies, who, we recorded some of those episodes early that you heard me say how good the Phillies were. Turns out, still correct. Phillies obviously going to win the World Series, which will time out right around our Christmas episode when I'm in a Santa hat and 150 degrees. So
yeah, no sweat.
October, baby.
All right. Well, thanks again for joining us, and we will see you next time. Thanks.